You work with...
Still, like, I'm trying to think of directions. Basically, Javier got the hero of the week. Maybe
So I've known one of the co-founders of Reach Neuro, Doug Weber, for nearly 10 years. He's a luminary in the field of neurotechnology, and he is a careful, thoughtful, circumspect engineer. This is precisely the kind of person you want working on technology that's going to be implanted in your body. During their human trial, I went to visit, and as we were headed to the lab to go visit patient number 3, Doug turned to me and he said something, and I'll never forget it because it was so out of character for him. He just turned, he looked me in the eye, and he said, "This thing effing works." And I knew at that moment that we had a winner.
I've had so much fun with Payam, the CEO of Dandelion. That guy is a lipid whisperer. We can bring up an LNP structure or a lipid, and he looks at it, and he can just brain starts to understand it and compute it, and he can guess at who made it because of certain assumptions built into its structure that gives it hints of a lineage to a certain academic lab and a certain company. The guy knows everything about lipids, and he can recruit. He and Morteza and Hadi are a blast to spend time with.
Oh, about Melio. So I just got drinks with Mira the other day. And it was like 3 hours, had a great time. And she just told me everything about her competitors, like what they've raised, what they've actually done. She's read all of their job descriptions and know what they're trying to deliver on. And I just felt like an expert after that. And I wish people knew that about her. And I know we were questioning whether or not is this the diagnostic endgame. And I feel like I'm so much more confident in that now because not only did she spend so much time in the NICU understanding that market, but how much research she's done into her competitors and how much her competitors are pivoting away from their original promise and how she's not. I think this is founder market fit at its best.
What sets Gozen apart is that Etche was a designer. Prior to creating Gozen Bioworks, she was a fashion designer. She made products. And in the world of textiles, it's the details that separate what lives and thrives versus what dies. So it wasn't just growing a bioleather. It was, how does it stitch? How does it wrap? Can it take dyes? Does it hold those dyes and not, leak them out or bleed them out on whatever they're next to or if someone sits on them? And it was her attention to detail and her knowing excellence that gave me confidence in investing in her and driving her to succeed.
We've been thinking a lot about how to add true value to therapeutics. And when I met Jonathan at Laguna, I knew that he was a great founder. I knew that he could get pharma partnerships. But I was worried about the value capture. In the end, they were an adjunct immunotherapy, and I didn't know how much of the value he could capture. And in that one board pack, it really clicked when he locked in this monotherapy trial with a great Stanford PI. And I knew then we had it. The power of the technologies really could stand on its own.
Infinite Elements is a perfect example of a company that's addressing an industrial independence problem, our inability to refine and have in our hands critical materials that allow us to electrify. And with this company, with Infinite Elements, being based in El Paso, Texas, and really doubling down on bringing a sustainable and environmentally sound approach to purifying and refining these critical materials, I do believe that we can have a durable change in our supply chain to make electrification happen. I think it's really easy in deep tech to get seduced by new and shiny technologies. And it's very appealing to think about large-scale issues like construction and construction materials and think, hey, why don't we just bring in something that's totally different and totally brand new because it's so much better and far superior. But I think that that is the wrong approach, especially in an industry like construction. And that's why Minus Materials is the investment that we decided to make in cement, because they understand the market. Will and Sarah are civil engineers who understand construction, and they understand how the concrete market works. And the simple fact is, you have to give the construction industry exactly what it already uses, because otherwise they'll never use it. And that's why I'm really excited about their approach and their ability to decarbonize cement.
I think the Nitrofix team is the answer to scaling the technology. This is a great team. Maital, the CTO, has a lot of expertise in linearly scaling systems, and Ophira, the CEO, is a seasoned operator in deep tech, and I have high confidence in the ability of the team to translate this technology and scale it and bring it to market.
The burden of regenerative agriculture is actually put onto growers far too much, and not consumers and consumer brands who are actually bringing products to the end market. What I love about Westbourne is, they're focusing on bringing to consumers crop diversity, zero waste, quality over quantity. And for Camilla, the CEO, she's been living this mission her whole career. So this company is really just the next step in a very natural evolution.
Launching a meat company in 2023, after the struggles we've seen in the market the last couple of years, is daring. But Avio and Ingrediome, I think, is one of the most important contributors to this sector. Partly because they're solving really clear problems. The problem of CapEx and high costs, and the food science technical challenge of getting all of our alternative proteins to actually feel great in the mouth. The mouth is 100 times more sensitive than our fingertips. And they have the protein. I think this is going to be as big a deal as Impossible's protein and the value that it drove to make these products, not just in meat, but all across meat through dairy, way more appealing.
I'm actually a little annoyed by how much people are over-indexing on carbon emissions and carbon footprint and not enough on the environmental footprint. So ever since we invested in MAA'VA, for example, everywhere I see concrete. And I think, holy crap, this concrete, half of it is sand glued together. And where does that sand come from? It has to come from rivers. And we don't have enough rivers with enough river sand. And so the fact that MAA'VA can replace all of that sand with unrecyclable plastics was huge. And now every time I look at a building, I'm like, we could hide all of our plastics in here in something that we're already going to build anyway.
Yes, IndieBio definitely isn't scared of commodities. And I think we've seen that we can invest in trends before they become trends, because these are ubiquitous materials that just by pure necessity have to be reinvented. So in the case of Mira and MDF, we know this is a giant titanic market. It uses huge amount of natural resources that are greenwashed with monocropped forests rather than true biodiversity. So a company that can have better than standard margins, be a drop-in, be high performance, use ubiquitous feedstock, they kind of have all the pieces that it takes to reinvent a commodity.